Welcome to the Keeping the Nostalgia Live show. I am your host, Billy Powell. You're probably watching this either on our YouTube channel, which is you can go to YouTube and just type in the Keeping the Nostalgia Live show, and it will come up with all of our shows. Or you're listening to this on Keeping the Nostalgia Live. That's all one word, Keeping the Nostalgia Live podbean.com, where we have over 220 episodes of all things Indiana basketball. I toss in some baseball interviews in there. Actually, if you go there today, you'll find a Tommy John interview that we did today. Tommy John originally being from Terre Haute, Indiana. And of course, 26 years in the big leagues, but go over to keepingthenostalgialive.podbean.com to listen to all those interviews. With us to my left is Scott Tarter, who is the um, and my wife just walked into the room. So it's like earlier, she texted me, and this was last night. Will you please bring downstairs a box of Kleenex when you come down? Can that not wait? So that is what that's what happens when you do these things, which is kind of
That's
fun. She's going to
awesome.
get a kick out of that and stick her tongue out at me when I go back downstairs.
That's
Scott
awesome.
Tarter started droppingdimes.org with some former ABA basketball players. Scott, tell us a little bit about droppingdimes.org and what it does for former American Basketball Association basketball players.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, back in about 2014, a local eye surgeon here in town named Dr. John Abrams, who incidentally was a former ABA basketball ball boy for the Indiana Pacers. He and I were helping to support Ted Green on one of his documentary films. This one had happened to be on Roger Brown, his great film Undefeated. And in that process, I'm meeting a lot of guys from the former Indiana Pacer days, like Mel and Bob Notolicki and George McGinnis, Darnell Hillman, Slick Leonard. I mean, all the greats, right, from that era. And Mel, in particular, was constantly talking to me about how little respect the ABA got from the NBA, and how some former ABA players were finding themselves in some pretty unfortunate circumstances. And I would always tell him at the time, well, I'm sure they're getting some support and assistance from the NBA, given the contributions that league made to the NBA. And Mel was always very steadfast that they get no respect, they get no assistance. And so, I approached John Abrams back then and said, why don't we get a charity going and see if we can make a difference in that way. And so we suggested to Mel we get that going and did that. And Mel's first job was to get Nedelicki involved, which he did. They were great friends. And then Mel and Neto populated our advisory board with just a number of ABA Hall of Famers, everybody from George Gervin, Dan Issel, Louis Dampier, Spencer Haywood, George McGinnis, Slick Leonard, Rick Barry, ultimately Bob Costas, Reggie Miller, Miles Turner from the current Indiana Pacers joined the advisory board. So with a group like that, the pressure was on us, John and Ted and I. Ted ultimately joined the board as well, to take that great base of support and start making some noise. And I think we've helped a lot of guys over the last 7 years, and we're getting closer and closer to that goal of getting an NBA sponsored pension for the players.
If I'm not mistaken, there's less than 100 of them left, correct?
There's about 108, Billy. If you go on guys who played at least 3 years in the league, then there are, and they would be eligible then for an NBA pension if they got an equivalent for the ABA. Then there's 108 of those guys. There are about 300 living former ABA players.
It was interesting. I was kind of going through last night online, and man, the pensions for other major league sports, they really took care and take care of those that play the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. They really have, and certainly the NBA pension as it exists today is pretty amazing. It's pretty tremendous, and you could make an argument that with the money that today's players make in the NBA, they don't even they shouldn't even need a pension with proper money management. But they get one, and that's great, and it's very nice. but the ABA guys got nothing. And that's hard when when you really stop and think. I've had lots of people who are basketball fans sort of approach me and say, well, why should they be any different? And I always tell them, in the first instance, it's because they played in a league that had such a huge impact on today's pro basketball, right? I mean, the 3-point shot came from the ABA, the slam dunk competition on All-Star Weekend, the fast up-tempo style of play that everybody loves to see in the NBA came directly from the ABA. The NBA had such a half-court motion offense, which is great. I love basketball, so I love watching that style. But you can't argue with the fact that the up-tempo Golden State Warrior type play that you see today is what gives the NBA such pizzazz, right, from an entertainment perspective. So these guys were a big part of that. And for the NBA not to take care of them with just a very minimal pension of, say $400 a month per season of play, is a travesty.
And speaking of the ABA, they had that fantastic red, white, and blue ball, which I think you
Oh,
guys have taken it, and you guys have one of those available through droppingdimes.org or through lanasports.com. Am I correct?
we do, yeah. It's a separate supporting company called Lana Sports, and yeah, if your listeners want to get an absolute replica basketball, it is an exact replica of the ABA ball, the official RSS Rawlings ABA ball. Other than the fact that it's not a Rawlings, and it has Slick Pinkham as the commissioner instead of George Mikan or Jack Dolph or Dave DeBuscher or Mike Storen, one of the others. But it's an exact duplicate, and you can pick it up for $99 at lanasports.com. And that's an effort to raise funds for the Dropping Dimes Foundation. And Lana Sports involves ABA players in all of its product offerings, which are all ABA oriented.
Tell us how you came up with the commissioner's name on the ABA ball.
Well, there's in the 1971 ABA draft. What I've heard is that John Weissert, who was the GM of the Pacers, was in communications with Bobby Leonard and Dick Tinkham, who were, in Draft Central. And if you think about that time period, they're coming off of a championship. They've added George McGinnis out of IU. They've added Darnell Hillman to a stable that had already won a championship. And now here they are drafting in round 17 of the ABA draft, and Slick's not very happy about that. And so he's sort of intimating that he's not going to go forward. And the story I've heard from Slick and from John Weissert's son is that John and Slick got together and said, "Okay, you've got to select somebody." And so John said, "Well, make them up if you have to." And Slick combined his name with Dick Tinkham, the Pacers lawyer, and they came up with Slick Pinkham, and they phoned in that draft choice. And if you look it up on Basketball Reference or APBR, it's an official draft selection in the 1971 ABA draft. Number 17 is Slick Pinkham, a red shirt from DePaul University, my alma mater, who never existed.
That's like Ivan Ranko, I think, from that never existed from Bobby Knight.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
And also on that lanasports.com where you can get the basketball, which is a great, I have seen several pictures of it online, which is a absolutely fabulous looking ball. You guys also have, is it the first year card set of 166 cards? Is it the first year of the ABA?
Yep, that's right. It's the 67-68 season. And so that trading card set was, paying homage to the guys who never got trading cards for the most part. You've got some guys in that first year of the ABA, like Connie Hawkins and Roger, Larry Brown, Louis Dampier, certainly had its share of Hall of Famers. But for the most part, those guys, never had a chance to have a trading card. So that set commemorates the first year, and it includes all 166 players who played at least 1 minute that first year in the ABA.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty neat. There's 166 cards, 160 base players. There's also you one rare card, which could be Neto, who was a top five rebounder, or a Louis Dampier included, autographed.
There's one autograph in every single box. There were only 750 boxes made. And if you're listeners, anytime I do a podcast and someone mentions that, if they put the discount code or the coupon code ABA 67, then it'll drop $50 off the purchase price for the trading cards.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that. Now, how many phone calls did it take to Louis Dampier to get him set up to make these autographs?
Let's see. It took none to him. It took about 6 calls to Dan Issel.
I
And the
have.
last the
I,
last call, Billy, was Dan, and Dan said, "You mean he still hasn't met up with you yet?" And I said, "Nope." And he said, "Give me 5 minutes." And the next thing I know, I got Dan calling me saying he will meet you here at this pancake house. And sure enough, he did, just outside of Louisville. And he was as nice as can be. Louis was.
yeah, Louis from Southport High School there on the southern part of Indianapolis. And
That's
I
right.
just heard that he just really doesn't like to answer his phone or cares for the telephone.
That's right. That's exactly right. Boy, he sat there graciously and signed autographs for that set for for an hour, and was as nice as could be. But yeah, it was impossible to get a hold of him.
And speaking of Bob Nedelicki, which I talked to today on the phone, I have absolutely loved this book called We Changed the Game, which you can get on Amazon.com and also HiltonPublishing.com. I think it's HiltonPublishing.com.
It is.
But what a great it's one of those books too. It's not like my Larry Bird Drive book, which yellows and looks like that over age. I mean, it's actually a coffee table book that people will actually go through with picture quality pages.
Yes.
And
These are all products too. His book as well raises money for the Dropping Dimes Foundation, just like the basketball and the trading cards.
some of us sports fans can look at it and go, "But oh my God, it's 400 pages." It's less than 200 pages. It's got lots of great photos you haven't seen before, and it's just a fabulous, informative source on how the Indiana Pacers came to Indianapolis, and what could have been, what might not have been, and
Mhm.
what did happen.
I agree. It's fantastic, fantastic read.
So how do you involved with all this and not feel like a kid with a giant ice cream cone every time that you see these guys or talk to these guys? I mean, I would get tongue tied every day. Just I just talked to Artis Gilmore, or I just talked to a Louis Dampier, a Big Mac, Neto. I mean, how do you calm yourself when talking to these giants in our head?
Isn't that funny? It took a long time because I would sit down and have a cup of coffee with Mel, and he's the one I became the closest with early on. And sometimes I would, Billy, I'd be talking like you and I are right now, and we're having pancakes at Lincoln Square and having coffee, and all of a sudden I would just kind of stare at him, and I would say, literally, Mel, sometimes I have this moment, and you just have to give it to me because I'm looking across at you and I'm saying, "This is Mel Daniels," and he would just laugh. And I've told that to several of these guys. I'll take just 1 minute of time because they're all such humble, great, nice guys. I mean, every single one of them is so humble about their incredible basketball accomplishments. But every once in a while, I'll just stop and say, you know, Dan Issel, I hated you. I hated you, man, with a passion. The only person I hated more than you was Zelmo Beatty, and he'll just crack up laughing.
Oh, that's very neat, especially being a huge basketball fan like I am myself. Now, you were a John Marshall Patriot, right?
I was, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Roger Schroeder was our basketball coach, and he was. You probably know this because you know everything that is anything about Indiana basketball, but he was one of the miracle men of Milan.
Greatest guy you'd ever meet. After meeting him and talking to him, you wouldn't think that he could coach a basketball team because of how calm and collective he is. But I have had him on our program, like keeping the nostalgia alive.podbean.com, and Just a fantastic coach, individual, and of course, he will go down in history as being a part of that 1954 Milan Indian team that of course, they made the movie Hoosiers about.
Will you do me a favor, and the next time you talk to him, talk to Roger, ask him why he cut me from the squad. I mean, I thought I was there. I thought I was right there.
Now, you needed his goal probably was to always beat Broad Ripple, and you had to have some good horses in there, to be able
Yeah.
to do that. So, maybe he just didn't see him beating Broad Ripple, where I went to high school, of course, name drop, with your skills, maybe.
Yeah, it was either that or the fact that Pancho Wright was on the team and tough to compete with.
David Pancho Wright, man, what a ball player! And then went on down to Louisville and won the NCAA tournament with the Louisville Cardinals in 1980. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He used to have those battles with Steve Risley at Lawrence Central.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Scott Tarter, tell us a little bit once again about droppingdimes.org and how people can donate.
People can get behind us and support us either by, going to these. You can buy Notolicky's book, "We Changed the Game," which really is a great book, and you can buy that online at droppingdimes.org. They can go to lanasports.com and they can purchase that great ABA basketball or the trading cards, or they can go directly to droppingdimes.org and they can contribute directly via PayPal online at our website.
And I am going to put a couple pictures down the bottom along with the lanasports.com link. Everybody, you have to see some of the pictures of some of these cards. It's an amazing looking set. So, and I think as you purchase and as you enjoy, it will probably appreciate as time goes by, like all other trading cards do. So that's atlantasports.com. Also, head over to droppingdimes.org and check out what they're all about. Scott Tarter, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And hopefully, this will drive a little bit of funds into droppingdimes.org for those 108 ABA players that are left. And hopefully, next time that we chat, maybe something would have been resolved with the NBA and what it kind of owes to former ABA players, and how without the ABA, the NBA would not be what it is today.
That's right. We're super hopeful. So thank you so much for shedding more light on the issue and for shedding light on Dropping Dimes, Billy. Appreciate you having me on the show.